Am I the a-hole for telling my mom if I wanted to watch kids, I'd have one after declining babysitting? My 25 female younger sister 21 female is pretty pregnant. For the last few weeks, she has been demanding that my significant other 27 male and I babysit her newborn every weekend, Friday morning to Sunday evening, so she and her significant other 21 male can have some cool off time from being parents to not overstress. Each time, I have laughed at her and shut it down with a quick, "Nope, I won't be." And she gets mad I'm not helping her out. Yesterday, she got our mother involved. Mom called me to ask why I was being a self-centered witch and so selfish because she didn't raise me this way. I told her I'm a grown woman with my own house and life, and that if I wanted to watch kids as a second job, I'd freaking have some. She sputtered out something about me being a horrible person and hung up on me. My significant other and my aunt 100% are with me. However, my mom, dad, and the other 900 family members and friends they got involved are calling me out on Facebook and blowing up my phone. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit, my relationship with the family has come up a few times now, so I'd like to point out, I don't generally have much to do with them. I talk to my mom maybe twice a month. My sister was a little more than that. I talk to my youngest sister, 16 female, my one aunt, and my grandparents regularly. But that's everyone. While I haven't cut anyone out, I simply do not engage or interact with anyone outside of the 3 hours on Christmas we are all together. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole, but your sister and her husband are. They are nuts to plan to part with a newborn for 60 hours straight every week. The fact that everyone else in your family sees this as okay is wild. You and your aunt are literally the only sane people in your family. I'd correct the sister. This is called joint custody, not babysitting. Not a-hole. Divorced dads get less custody than this, and they definitely wouldn't get this much time with a newborn. Not a-hole. And also, lol, what? So let me get this straight. Your sister and her significant other are having a baby, but they want every weekend off so they can go have fun while you watch their child. Every weekend? Yeah, sounds like they should have thought twice before getting her pregnant. This is not how that works. I had my son at 21, and guess what I did at most weekends? It's called being a parent. Ridiculous entitled nonsense is what I'd call your sister's behavior, and I absolutely fail to understand why your family is agreeing with her. If your parents think she should have every weekend off, they can watch the child. Oh yeah, my cousin has 3 kids, and guess what she doesn't have for the past 12 years? Right, a free weekend. Everyone is lucky if they have grandparents to watch the kids for an afternoon, but if you sign up for the little ones, then you know that some freedoms are gone for a while. Not a-hole. What sane person expects someone else to take care of their child every weekend? Given the fact that mom immediately had her back on the idea, I'm going with someone who has probably gotten away with making various and reasonable demands a lot in the past 21 years. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for firing my sister after she threw out my son's pine cones? This happened over a week ago. I, 30 male, need to know if I was an a-hole or not. My son, 7, passed away from a heart condition he had. It'll be 2 years in July, and my world still hasn't been the same without him. Ever since he was 5, my son had an obsession with collecting pine cones. He loved them for some reason. Every trip to the park or hiking trail, he'd come home with a bag of pine cones picked out. I helped him preserve them, so they would last way longer. It became a fun activity for us to do at home. His last Christmas, he gifted me a pine cone he painted himself, and it was the best gift ever. I kept all his pine cones stored away since he passed. Sometimes on bad days, I like to take them out and admire them. A couple months ago, my sister lost her job. She's a housekeeper, and my parents urged me to help her out by hiring her to clean my house. That wasn't an issue for me. The problem with my sister is everything needs to be cleaned her way, or she throws out things she deems aren't worth keeping. For instance, my late wife's old sketchbooks that she found in my garage, or my old guitar that I don't play as often as I used to, but still keep in good condition, my old wood carvings, etc. I've had to tell her that unless it's in the trash can, don't throw it out without checking in with me. I came home the other day and saw my storage closet nearly empty. One of the things missing were my son's pine cones. She wanted to surprise me, but I was so overwhelmed I told her to leave or I was going to scream at her. She texted me later to ask what she did wrong. She just saw that it needed to be tidied up and thought I wouldn't be too mad. I called to tell her she's fired for throwing out my son's pine cones because she knows how much he loved collecting them. Her defense was they weren't really necessary to keep around when I have other things of my son's, like his toys and drawings. But this was specifically something that he loved so very much. Now it feels like a piece of him has been taken from me and I don't want her in my house again. My sister begged to keep this job because she was relying on this and to give her another chance. But I couldn't bring myself to that. Everyone is mad at me for leaving her without a job. My mom is angry at my sister for what she did and told her off for being insensitive. However, she feels that losing income shouldn't be a punishment for hurt feelings. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She was doing her job poorly. Imagine if she did this with other clients. She would lose her job then too. She can't just decide what's get thrown away or not. Also, she should have immediately apologized for what she threw away, instead of digging her heels in and trying to justify it. Sounds like she has thrown away a bunch of important things to you, but I'm surprised you let her stay on as your housekeeper this long. Oh, the things I mentioned she didn't actually throw out, like my late wife's stuff, but she insisted they should be because why would I want that when I don't use it? It was the fact she kept pushing it that made me order her not to throw anything out without my permission. I probably would have had the same reaction if she had thrown them out like she did with my son's pine cones. Yep, bearing an imminent danger like a pileup of human waste or extreme hoarder conditions, she doesn't get to decide for herself what to throw away, much less do so. She clearly knew how important the pine cones were to Opie and didn't care about his wishes. She lost her job because of her actions, period. Wow, I can't imagine why she lost her first job as a housekeeper. You're not an a-hole. No housekeeper should be making decisions about personal belongings. It's even worse if she knew they had sentimental value to you. Not an a-hole. A housekeeper is not allowed to destroy possessions of the homeowner, unless they specifically ask her to. She was probably fired from prior jobs for the same shenanigans, and her lack of income is her problem, not yours. Not an a-hole. And if this is how she acts, I'm surprised she ever had a housekeeping job to lose in the first place. It's not even like she thought you would want them to be thrown out. She knew what they meant to you and your son. She had no right. I'd never let her back in my house, let alone on my payroll. Also, she feels that losing income shouldn't be punished by hurt feelings? The absolute audacity. Hurt feelings? How about losing income over destruction of property? You know, the crime she committed? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my brother and his wife watch our 4-month-old daughter without asking my wife? My wife and I have a 4-month-old baby girl. So far, only one person has allowed to watch the baby, wife's best friend. Her best friend is a good caregiver, and she's a mom herself, but she's not like super nanny or anything. Just a normal person. My brother and his wife have been begging to watch the baby for us, but my wife always says no. My brother's wife is a certified newborn care specialist and lactation consultant. Not saying she's any better or worse than wife's best friend, but I think it's safe to say she'd do a great job of taking care of our baby girl. Yesterday, my wife was at work and I needed to take my car up to the shop for an oil change and inspection. It had to be done today as my guy won't be to shop again until after the 4th, so my inspection would expire by then. I didn't think it'd be fun for my little one to sit in a stinky gas station auto shop for a few hours, so I dropped her off with my brother and his wife. Well, now I'm in the doghouse. 1, for not asking her first, and 2, for letting someone else watch the baby who isn't wife's best friend. I didn't ask because I didn't think it was necessary. I knew 100% that our baby would be well cared for. I was within 10-minute drive, and both my brother and his wife have cars with a car seat. They had all the supplies they needed. My wife's job is also within 10 minutes of their house. My wife is upset because she doesn't want a bunch of people watching our baby, which I get, but it was just my brother and his wife. I don't plan on sending her to Grandma next weekend, Aunt Edna the next, and Cousin Jimmy the week after that. Just one day with her aunt and uncle, 4 hours total. She thinks we need a consistent person to watch her, her best friend. Now for the comments. Not Dayhall. I'm guessing this is your first child, and your wife sounds like she's a little over-anxious about the baby, which is totally normal, but just because her feelings are normal, that doesn't mean she's in the right. Unfortunately though, as you both navigate parenthood, you are going to have to find a balance because if you continue down a path of whatever she says goes, you will likely end up resenting her, and it can do damage to you, your marriage, and how you are as a parent. Baby steps. Apologize for not telling her ahead of time, but tell her that it's not okay for her to make these decisions unilaterally. Fight about it, then find a compromise. Hijacking top comment to suggest that maybe postpartum anxiety is playing a part in his wife's decision. It's real, and can really affect new moms in a harsh way. Thank you. I was about to say the same. My postpartum anxiety and depression spiraled so far out of control and mixed with my regular poor mental health. I diagnosed depression and anxiety even before that. And basically, it became so much worse than it should have been. I'm now barely able to leave the house without feeling physically sick to my stomach from panic, and my kid is 6.5 now. Opie, please make sure your wife is okay. That drop in hormones from pregnancy and birth, mixed with everything else, is absolute hell on a number of new mothers. I'm not saying that what happened to me could happen to your wife, but please make sure it's not PPA or PPD, because it's so hard. Not day hull. You left your child with trusted family. She's 4 months old, not 4 weeks. I suspect she's probably in her routine and was just fine spending time with uncle and aunt. My brother's wife is certified newborn care specialist and lactation consultant. That sounds more qualified than your wife's friend as someone to watch the child for a brief period. You need to talk to your wife and figure out why she's so weird about this. The only reason I think he's the a-hole is because he did it knowing full well how his wife felt about it. Everyone sucks here. You went behind your wife's back, which is wrong. But your wife needs to understand that you may need additional people who can babysit if necessary. Just one person, her BFF, isn't enough. I don't think it was so much behind her back, as he made an executive decision because she was at work. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for including my ex's daughter in my life? Sleepovers, vacation, etc. Sorry if any of this gets confusing. I have a 5-year-old daughter, Annie, with my ex. My ex also has an 8-year-old daughter, Elsie. Ex and I broke up when Annie was a little under 2 years old. It was really hard getting her for overnights because she has never been away from her home/mom overnight. We realized that she did much better if her older sister was there, so she started coming too. Annie has no issue staying the night by herself now, but since I had to kind of keep playing stepdad after Ex and I broke up, Elsie and I do have a bond of some sort. She will come stay the night most of the time, unless she has other plans, or her mom requests she stays home for some reason. My girlfriend and I are trying to plan a little last-minute vacation for August. We are going somewhere very family-friendly, so I said we should ask if Elsie wants to join. Elsie has been on vacations with just Annie and I before. Girlfriend let out a big sigh when I said this. I was confused, because up until this point, she's never expressed any issues with Elsie being around. We got to talking, and she basically asked, when will this end? When Elsie is a teenager? When she graduates high school? When she gets married? Never? I didn't know what to say because Elsie and Annie will always be sisters. So yeah, it will probably never end. Elsie is a good kid and Annie adores her, so I have had zero hesitations about ever inviting her along to hang out with us. Plus, I do feel bad for Elsie. X is a good mom doll, but she can't really afford much outside of basic necessities and the occasional treat. There are lots of things Elsie gets to do with us that her mom could simply not afford. And I feel like I sort of owe it to Elsie. The only reason she started coming over was to help comfort her sister, and she still is a big help with Annie. My girlfriend is not happy with the situation suddenly. She's apparently been holding out hope that things were just like this because of the pandemic, but it's very concerning and inappropriate to know that it's not the case. Am I the a-hole for still inviting Elsie to hang out with us even if she's not my kid and I have no legal obligation to her? Not the a-hole. You don't have an obligation to include Elsie, but it shows what a kind heart you have to do so. It would be very sad if you chose to cut her out completely just because your new girlfriend is jealous. Your girlfriend is showing you how immature she is on this issue. If you give in on this with her, next she's going to be going after your daughter too. You need to set her straight that this is how your life is with your daughter and her half-sibling. If girlfriend doesn't like it, she's welcome to leave. Yep, this feels like the beginning of a slippery slope. Elsie was also Opie's stepdaughter when he was with her mom/his ex, It's not like she's a younger half-sibling that Opie has no relationship with. I suspect girlfriend didn't realize how involved of a dad Opie is until recently, and is now reconsidering if she signed up for all that. Yeah, I could understand if she decides it isn't for her and bails, but you can't say this was unexpected when she dated someone with a former partner and a kid. Not day-haul. First of all, I think it's great that you're including both sisters and treating them as they are. Sisters. You sound like a great dad to Annie and overall a nice dude. I think your girlfriend needs to understand that this is the deal. You come with a kid, and the kid comes with a sister. Both of them are part of your family now. She's not the one to decide who gets to be part of your life. She can either accept that Elsie is part of your family or move on. Please don't reject Elsie because of this. Not day-haul. But one thing to think on is how long before the girlfriend starts saying the same thing about Annie. The latest I can imagine is when she has her own child with him. Exactly. It'll be, can we ever just do anything with just our family? Update. Thinking about leaving my wife and child. Thoughts? Original post. I-32 male will be real. If it hadn't been for my son, I would have ended the marriage already. Things weren't good back then between us. Wife and I are going to marriage counseling because I confessed to her I was falling out of love and wasn't happy in the marriage anymore, so she insisted we try to work out our problems. We did try it. Open up, have communication better, try to be more affectionate with each other and connect more as a couple. More romantic date nights and spontaneous trips. Basically to find that spark again. None of it worked and I was ready to call it quits after a year, until we found out she was pregnant. Now, for me, I always thought we were set on never ever having kids. That was something mentioned when we were first dating, and I was pretty relieved she felt the same way about not wanting kids. To me, I just never liked them. Not what I wanted for my life at all. But once we found out, she wanted to keep the baby. It was a whole other conflict. I didn't want to be a father, but she wanted him. For a while, I kept bringing up the options of termination or maybe adopting, but in the end, that didn't go anywhere. Then I thought, okay, well, parents split up all the time even with kids involved. However, that just gave me a lot of backlash from everyone about what a nahal I am, because who even thinks about leaving their pregnant wife? I feel my biggest mistake was letting myself believe that maybe with a family we can make it work. Being there for her and the baby, that I just get that love for them, it'll work out along with the therapy we had done. Now I feel even more miserable. We have family time, date nights when we manage to get a sitter, free time to ourselves every other weekend if possible. I just hate it all. The only time I'm actually content is when I'm not home or get to have a little personal time. Everything going on at home makes me wish I left before there was even a chance of her getting pregnant. But I felt bad not trying to get some help first before throwing in a towel in our marriage. Now there's a baby involved, and it's 1,000 times more complicated. I don't feel any closer to my wife or my son, who's about 13 months now. It's not his fault, I get it, he's a baby. Right now it's been a lot easier to manage and thought by now I might feel closer to him. Sadly, I don't. Part of me just wants to pack my stuff and leave already. That part makes me feel horrible because I'm his father and wouldn't feel right to leave him without one. Just don't know if I can be what they need me to be anymore. Is there really any way to stop feeling this way? At this point, it's like I want to walk out and never look back. But is that really the best thing? Edit. For those curious, we did not have unprotected action. Never wanted to end up in the scenarios or rubbers were always used and she said she was on birth control. That's how it always was in the years we've been together. It's been brought to my attention that I should probably mention this detail for better advice. I just didn't want to include it before because it was done in the past and my son is already here. But yes, I talked to my wife if this was done deliberately, the pregnancy I mean, and she never denied she had anything to do with tampering. It's still on me for being intimate with her regardless, but she did have something to do with it. Like I said though, I didn't want to focus on that because my son is here anyways, and nothing could be done about it now. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You should leave. Your marriage should have ended years ago, and staying in a bad relationship just because of a baby is never healthy. Your wife deserves someone who will love her. Your son deserves growing up in a home where he is loved and wanted by all the adults in it. And no matter how much you try to fake it, kids can sense when their presence isn't really wanted. And you deserve a partner whom you do love and wanted to be with. None of you can get those things until you firmly admit once and for all that it isn't working for you and never will, and put an end to it. You can still be his father without living there, and a bit of distance might even improve your relationship with him because you would be happier with your life in general once divorced, and because it would allow you to spend time with him away from his mom, who you freely admit you haven't wanted to be with for years. Tell your wife it's over. If she wants to try counseling again, agree to going, but warn her that you will be informing the counselor up front that the marriage is over, and you're only there to help your wife come to terms with that fact. Move your stuff out, and file for divorce and at least visitation with your son. This is sound advice, thank you. I agree I should have walked out a long time ago before a kid was even in the mix. It was hard. Still is. Hope leaving the marriage does improve what I have with my son. The feelings I'm having right now are not what I want to be having years down the road with him, when it becomes more obvious. And get a vasectomy so you don't have to worry about this with any future partners. Get a divorce. I grew up in a house with parents who hated each other. They didn't fight, but they didn't engage with each other either. I also learned at a young age that my father never wanted children. It was a miserable way to grow up. It didn't help any of us kids. I was so grateful when they finally got divorced. Now as an adult, I have a great relationship with my father. It doesn't mean you have to be an absent father or a bad one, but that is your son and you'll have to decide how much of a relationship you want with him. As another poster stated, you may become a better father when you're out of the marriage. Staying helps no one. Did your relationship with your father improve because of the divorce or because you reached adulthood? Since I have heard some parents get along better with their kids once they're older and more mature. A lot of it was because I got older. I think it became easier for him to relate to me more as a teenager and adult than as a small child. He wasn't a terrible father, but he was clearly unhappy, and that had a big impact on how he treated us kids. I firmly believe if they had divorced when I was a child, our relationship would have improved sooner. He may have resented us as kids, but it was made worse because he was also in a relationship he hated. It was a cycle. Once that was broken, things got even better. You can separate from her or even divorce her, but you are still legally and morally responsible for your child. The legal requirement is primarily financial. Even if you have your parental rights terminated, that does not lose you your financial obligations, unless she gets someone else to adopt your child with her. But morally, you know you have an obligation to the child. Have you considered talking to a therapist about how you might get more attached to your child, whether or not you stay with your wife? Because these are two separate issues. To answer your last question, yes, I started seeing a therapist individually when my son was around 7 months. She's helped people who've suffered from PPD, and I've been talking to her about the things I'm going through with my son. That's something I've been working on for months, because I don't want him to feel that I resent him as he gets older. And now for the update. I almost forgot that I had posted this, but thought I should add an update after all the help. Things have been tough, but getting easier day by day. I left my wife, soon to be ex. It was rough. Needed to happen though. If I wanted things to improve for my son's sake, I couldn't let myself continue to be stuck in this marriage I wanted out of already. For those who suggested this way and why, you were right. It's helped a lot. Not so much the first few weeks. It was so new, and I didn't have a place on my own. For about a month, I stayed with family until I found a place for myself and where my son can also stay. My soon-to-be ex obviously didn't take this well. She's brought some family members on her side for abandoning my family. But I didn't abandon my son. When I spoke to a lawyer and got the paperwork started, we also got a temporary custody order to make sure I'd still have time with him. It's only 3 days out of the week, but we'll settle custody stuff as we go through the divorce proceedings to get more time with him. Honestly, the time away really has boosted me up in ways I couldn't imagine. When my son is with me now, I feel lighter. Not trapped like I felt back then, and I know in my heart I can't ever not be in his life. No matter how he came into this world or what she did, he's innocent in this. Still seeing the same therapist, and I've been more open about my past to really get to the root of my actual issues in regards to the disconnect I had been feeling with my son. Since some of you really encouraged me to be honest to my therapist about what happened. Feels like there's been lots of improvement, and it makes me so hopeful for the relationship I can have with him in the future. He is still so little, but I know there's time to learn to be the dad he needs me to. Thank you so much to all of you here who took the time to really give me solid, amazing advice. At least I know that this was the best decision to make. And now I get to fully try to bond with my son without any negative feelings about my marriage pulling me back. I'm glad that things are looking up, and that it's improving your relationship with your son. Keep up the hard work and good luck with everything. Not all perfect right now, but it's a start. I haven't felt this hopeful for the future in a long time. It's like a breath of fresh air. Yo, as one of many children with divorced parents, A, good on you for splitting sooner rather than later. B, see if y'all can work out a schedule that's not days of the week but weeks of the month. It's freaking blue, packing up my stuff all the time to get tossed around once or twice a week over some disagreement over custody. I don't take it too hard if your kid has a rough time making that switch. I love my dad, but man was I always in a sour mood when it came to pick me up, just because I had no close friends living nearby. Best of luck to you. I hope you all find happiness. Just to give some hope, OP, when my wife and I split, she did not care for it at all. The court ordered 3 days every other week, but we never stuck to that and I had them often. Maybe she'll be open to that when she cools down. I'd like to believe that. Last thing she said is she'll make sure I can never see him anymore. If those were words of anger or she was serious, well, I don't know, but I'll fight for time. Always communicate through text and voicemails. If you live in a single-party consent state, then record your conversations with her too and give them to your lawyer. Threatening to take away your parental role out of spite is not going to look good for her in court. Luckily we do, and I've managed to bait her twice after I moved to my new apartment and asked to see my son, which she refused unless I came home. It's all in text. You can't argue with the evidence. You made the right choice, OP. I'm glad you are now feeling better and bonding with your kid. Keep it up. This is a place I was afraid I'd never manage to get to, but I'm happy that I did. It's not perfect, and there's still issues that need to be worked on further. But the fact that I can actually play with my son and hold him and think, God, I love this kid, it's so much better than where my head was a few months ago. Now for the last story. I, 28 male, have been with my girlfriend, 27 female, for nearly 3 years. She keeps hinting at buying a house and booking views, but some things have come to light this past year, and I'm not fully sold on financially tying myself to her. At the start of this year, my girlfriend turned her notifications off on her WhatsApp and Snapchat applications. When I had hovered over her shoulder, I saw that she was messaging someone. Let's call him Harry. After catching her at the right moment, as in just scrolling past a photo of Harry on her Facebook feed, I casually said, "Who is that?" Since she didn't know I knew she was messaging him, it came across as a random question. After I asked her the question, she started reeling off how he was obsessed with her in school and asked her out multiple times over the course of 5 years. Obviously, this didn't sit right with me because Harry's single, and if he was obsessed then, he probably is now. Plus, their conversations clearly aren't PG in my eyes, as it warranted her to turn off notifications on the apps she was talking to him on. To cut this story short, I snooped on her phone and found that she had deleted both chat logs on both apps. But I found something else that worried me. During our dating period, we had visited all different places like York, lakes, and even glamping. So I can say we were pretty obviously exclusive, especially since we deleted our dating apps. However, I found a text messages to her ex of 7 years saying, "What was I supposed to do? You said it was over and you didn't want to sort it, so I've moved on." And another said, "Just unblock me, I want to sort it out." This one was while we were away in New York and obviously having a good time. The worst thing is that, at the time, she mistakenly called me by her ex's name, and I thought nothing of it since she'd been in a relationship with him for over 7 years, the benefit of the doubt and all that. Then on her Facebook Messenger, she had messaged saying, "I can't talk to you as I'm with someone and it's disrespectful towards him." Yet I found more messages after the last Christmas saying Happy Christmas, and I'll speak to you around your birthday. He replied saying how it's stressing him out her messaging him, but she continued anyway. I always found it odd why he had messaged me when we first got together, saying he was going to smash my head in, and messaged her saying that she's his, and that my teeth are getting knocked out. And just put it down to 7 years in that he's an obsessive ex, as they do exist. Back to the issue. I raised it and got a balking for going on her phone, which was fair enough. But after trying to deflect it on me, I finally got to the bottom of it, and she said that she was sorry and all that, and she can't remember why she was saying that at the time, and can only apologize and turned her notifications on again. So I did what I always do, and forgave her but never forgot. Now coming down to looking at houses. I kept sending her houses and she was never replying, until I vocally told her I'd sent them. Turns out her Snapchat and WhatsApp notifications are off again, and I mentioned it. She said there's a group chat she's part of on WhatsApp that gets spammed, so I told her how to mute it and expressed how it's vital. She looks and sees my messages on time for us to buy a house, which remembers her idea. She wants to do this. Anyways, I tested out a week later and she still got the notifications off. Now, I know I said let it go, but now she's turned her notifications off again. It just brings it all back. And honestly, I have this gut feeling that she's going to screw me over, and I'll be financially tied to her if I get a joint mortgage. We also have a dog, which complicates things further. You see, from my point of view, I had an obsessive ex. Each time she messaged me, I told my girlfriend what she said and when she said it. I made it clear to my ex multiple times I didn't want anything to do with her yet. My current girlfriend was sending happy birthday and happy Christmas messages to the ex that said he would smash my head in, and repeatedly told her that she was his, instead of just telling him how it is and blocked. I know the messages were from nearly 3 years ago, and I know the other messages were just happy birthday and happy Christmas last year, but it's also the stuff with Harry, which I never mentioned, but I gathered it was something she shouldn't have done, since she made a point of deleting the conversations. At the start of their relationship, I set a boundary which was, I just want to be with a person that hasn't disrespected me in any way, shape, or form, and that included messaging exes or other lads in a way that would be disrespectful towards me. It'd make me look like a fool. Regardless of how I've left it, and I've left it 12 months, I just feel like something eventually is going to happen, and I just can't shake the gut feeling she had an emotional affair with Harry behind my back. Trust your gut, man. Always. It's usually right. I think all of your concerns are valid, and it doesn't seem like she's trying to remove them from her life either. The fact that he threatened you and she sends him Christmas messages and birthday messages is enough BS for me to call it quits. And honestly, even if you're wrong, you clearly don't trust her. You shouldn't be in a relationship with someone you don't trust, much less buy a house with them. I counted here. Don't buy a house with someone you're not married to. That is all. Yeah, this. I bought a house with my boyfriend/best friend of literal decades, and I'm still in the process of trying to disentangle, 4 years after our breakup. Are you me? It's such a pain. I've told my current significant other I really don't care about marriage and the romantic BS behind it, but we have to be married for legal reasons when we buy a property and build, because I'm not going through this again. You're acting shady. Yeah, I know, I'll stop. Some weeks. You're still acting shady. Yeah, I know, I'll stop. Some more weeks. You're acting shady. Yeah, I know, I'll stop. Many more weeks? Why? No kidding. It wants to tie himself to her financially? Makes me wonder if she wants to buy a house, so when she leaves him, she'll get half of the proceeds of the sale or he'll have to buy her out. Either way, she'll walk away with a nice chunk of change. I-29 male was invited to a couple's bedroom. It all might have caused a breakup. I understand the title sounds strange. Let me explain the situation. About 2.5 months ago, an acquaintance of mine, 28 male, we're not the best friends, but we know each other long enough to consider ourselves friends, came to speak with me, 29 male, privately when we were hanging out with some mutual friends. We started to chat, and eventually told me that he and his girlfriend, 26 female, they've been together for 5 years, were trying to spice things up in the bedroom. I initially thought that was very open-minded of them. Anyhow, eventually told me that they were discussing the possibility of having a threesome, and my name came up as both of them thought I was an attractive man. I'll be honest, that did surprise me a little, as I've never been invited for this kind of thing. Then he asked me if I was interested. To be completely honest, I wasn't really sure. I told him that I was flattered, but I needed some time to think. He agreed and told me to take as much time as I'd need. I considered this for the next few days, and I couldn't shake the feeling of awkwardness. And when he asked me again a few days later, I told him that I was feeling a bit awkward about that. He told me he understood, but also that if it made me more comfortable, we could just see how things went. That we could try, and if at any given time I decided I wanted to back off, we could stop everything immediately. After we spoke, I felt like it could be worth a try. We scheduled everything and organized it. I'm a straight male and wanted him to understand that before we got any further. And apparently he had some sort of deal with her, that afterwards they would invite a woman. Eventually we decided on a date and we had an interesting experience. It was very awkward at first, but that disappeared rather quickly. That was an interesting experience, and for me that was that. However, for the next 2 months I didn't really see him again. He was still in our group chat, but didn't come to our hangouts anymore. This last Friday, though, he was at a mutual friend's house. I greeted him, but he seemed really cold towards me, and that mood lingered through the evening. That really bothered me, as I really don't like people being rude or cold toward me without me knowing the reason. I sent him a text the next morning and asked if I've done something to insult him. Well, he answered pretty aggressively. Apparently, he and his girlfriend split up, and he was blaming me for it. We exchanged messages for about an hour, in which he used every word of the book to insult me, claiming I shouldn't have meddled in his relationship. Eventually, he ended up blocking me. Now, I'm not really sure what I should do. I feel like he's hurt and projecting it on me, but I have a really bitter feeling. I really don't know what to do now. This dude has been in my life for almost 10 years, and I have no idea how I should deal with the situation. Anyone has any advice they can share? Now for the top advice. I think him and his girl had issues already before this event. I think he's just using it as an excuse for why they broke up. Maybe he doesn't want to blame himself or his girl because that's too hard, so he'll blame you. It's not your fault. Just give him time, I think. Yeah, when people want to spice things up, it could be because they found both out they're kinky, or because their relationship is lacking and they don't realize it / don't know how to cope. It appears that you met the second case. This is the first time I've ever heard of something like this ruining a relationship. Shocking outcome. You didn't cause anything. He is just butthurt. I wouldn't bother with it. If he's not your friend anymore, he's not your friend, and that's his fault. If he and his girlfriend invited you to a group event and you accepted, if she broke up with him after that, that's on her, not on you. It wasn't like you approached them about this. He approached you multiple times. If he didn't want someone else in their private life, he shouldn't have insisted you join them. He's throwing blame to avoid owning up to their idea wrecking their relationship. He's probably still hurting over the breakup. And it's easy for someone who's hurting to blame everyone but themselves to avoid having to admit they messed up. If he's a decent person, he might snap out of this and apologize to you once he makes peace with what happened and accepts that this isn't your fault. If he's not, he'll just always be the scapegoat for the relationship failing in his mind, and this is the end of your friendship. If that's the case, good riddance. This wasn't your fault, and you don't need a friend who's going to blame you for it to save their own ego. Lol. Your buddy decides to engage in it, knowing full well that wasn't going to fundamentally alter the nature of his relationship with his girlfriend. Then, like a little bee, he runs off and blames you for it when it doesn't turn out how he hoped. Like the old saying goes, you pay your money and take your chances. I suspect he never got his FMF event he was promised, which is likely the real reason he is mad. Next story. My dad was acting like a creep to my girlfriend and my mom keeps defending him. I, 21 male, never experienced something like this before, so I'm feeling really crushed. My dad was always like my hero, somebody to look up to. My girlfriend I've been with over a year only seen my parents a couple of times. We moved in together during COVID and it's serious, so I really wanted her to get along with my family, like I get along with hers. Last time we went over was last week on Saturday. Then Sunday morning after breakfast, she tells me she got something to show me, and says what was happening after I drove my mom to the store to pick up more stuff. She took out a video of my dad with her, and he's acting really weird. But I could tell my girl was nervous the way she was talking. He was telling her she's really beautiful, and saying all this super gross stuff he would do if he wasn't married. It made me really mad, but my girlfriend in the video sounded really nervous, and she told him, well, they won't do any of that even if he wasn't married. Then sometimes the camera would move away from him like she's trying to get away, and he would move closer anyways. It goes on like 5 minutes, him asking if he could have a kiss and all this other stuff. It just made my stomach twist up, and I'm really mad. My girlfriend told me she was sorry, and I'm like, WTF? I told her I'm sorry, and that we are not going back again, I promise. I told my mom about it, because I don't know if I could talk to my dad without wanting to beat the crap out of him. And I'm shocked by how she's being. She's seen it, but she says my dad says he doesn't remember, and he was obviously drunk. But that's not true. It wouldn't make a difference even if he was. We know he only had max like 3 beers, which is nothing to him. He's saying he's sorry for making her uncomfortable. He didn't know what he was doing. Now both dad and my mom say he didn't do anything wrong, and that we're making a big deal by saying me and my girlfriend aren't going to see them anymore. All week she'd been calling me to say my dad is hurt by this, and they didn't think I'd be so willing to drop them over a misunderstanding. I don't know what to do anymore because I need to support my girl, but it's hurting me that they don't see how messed up what my dad did this. Like, how do I handle the situation with them? Look at it this way. Even if you and this girl break up, what about the next one? You'll be on creep patrol forever. Your mom is in denial. I'd be willing to bet this isn't new or shocking for her. He has likely done this and worse. Mama has her own reasons, but that doesn't excuse her ignoring it for you and your girlfriend. I personally would go very low contact. Your dad is sketchy AF, and your mom becomes untrustworthy when she must deal with his behavior. Opie's in the same position as my husband. He warned me, but even he didn't remember how bad his dad could be, and he looked mortified. Haven't seen his parents since. His mom is 1000% an enabler too. So sad. The dude is gross. At least Opie and my husband know it's unacceptable. Yep, the women enable as a coping mechanism. A terrible coping mechanism. Can I ask what prompted her to record? Has he been inappropriate with her before? I honestly don't know how you're supposed to move past the fact that your dad was trying to hit on your girlfriend, and that your mom defended his actions. So that she'd have proof in case I didn't believe her. She's never told me something like this happened before. So maybe just to be sure. I don't know how I'm supposed to either. It makes me sick, and I don't want to ever put my girlfriend through that again. So she started recording partway through their interaction? Even if at some point you break up with your girlfriend, your dad was willing to hurt and betray you in the worst way possible. This is a line that no parent should cross. Your kids' significant others are off limits. I think anyone is off limits when you're married too. That's why I feel really crushed by it. First, feel bad for my girlfriend that she was even in that mess, and then everything else. I thought at least my mom would be mad and she'd be on my side. Next story is titled, Drunk Fiancé 32 Female Slept with Someone While Drunk. So my 31 male fiancé 32 female went out with her colleagues to have a drink. Now bear in mind, this was the first time in over a year and a half that she had gone out for drinks. I had COVID 6 months ago and she has been extra careful ever since about going out, even though I have been pushing her to do it. Recently they had been working on a deal and it was successful, and they went out on Sunday to celebrate it. I was just hanging out at home. She sent me a few texts here and there, and her last text was at 10:30 where she said she would be leaving in half an hour and that she was very tipsy. I asked her to be careful, then she went radio silent, and when she did come back by 1 a.m., I started to worry a bit. I called her number, no response. I called her colleague's number, but her husband picked up and said that she had come home at 12:30 and was very drunk and sleeping and he had no idea about my fiancé. I was thinking about what to do when I suddenly get a call from her. It's 3 a.m. She is crying, saying she doesn't know where she is and that she wants me to come pick her up. I calmed her down enough to send me her location on WhatsApp. It took me 25 minutes to reach there, and when I saw her, I was astonished. I'd never seen her this drunk. When she saw me, she clung to me and kept saying sorry over and over. I drove her home and put her to bed, as I knew there's no point in talking to her in this state. One very idiotic thing I did was that when I brought her home, I changed her clothes and put what she wore the night out in the washing machine. Anyways, when she woke up, I gave her some coffee and asked what happened, and it took her some time to remember. But again, she started panicking and kept saying that she has these flashes in her mind of hooking up with someone and asking for protection. So I asked her to call her colleagues and she confirmed that there was a guy at the lounge who was very interested in my fiancé, and at some point of time they were talking. Her colleague says when she left, my fiancé was still talking to this guy. But she confirms that my fiancé had trouble standing up at this point. My fiancé has absolutely no memory of even meeting this guy, let alone talking to him. The colleague didn't know the guy. So I told my fiancé it seems like she was taken advantage of, but she is very adamant that she cheated and has been crying nonstop now as she thinks I'm going to break up with her. I've been trying to talk to her and reassure her, but she isn't ready to listen. I think since she hadn't had a drink for the past 16 months, her alcohol tolerance dropped, so she didn't recognize her own limits. Right now, she slept after clinging to me for 2 hours and crying and blaming herself. It's honestly breaking my heart. Please tell me how to convince her, Reddit. What do I say to her? Her colleagues left her alone at the bar with a strange man when she was too drunk to even stand up. She says that she was drunk too and her Uber had showed up. She claims she asked my fiancé if she was okay and fiancé replied yes. Honestly, I am not even thinking about that right now. Well, if your fiancé says she has no memory whatsoever of meeting this guy, and only flashes of supposedly sleeping with him, I take her to get drug tested. At least rule it out. She should also take Plan B as soon as possible if she's not sure a rubber was used. Add an STI screen in a couple weeks. Sorry this happened to you both, OP. There's no easy way forward here. She seems to be having a trauma response to a violation. Talk to her about being tested. Drugs or alcohol, either way, she was clearly in no state to consent. She's not willing to come out of even her room. I suggested going to a hospital, but she said, why don't you just dump me and send me to my mom's house? I don't want to press the issue here. I'm hoping in a day or two she will get a little better and decide what to do. You're doing the right thing. Give her some space. She may find it easier to talk to someone else. A friend, sister, someone she doesn't feel like she betrayed. She's always clinging to me, and insisting that I keep the door of toilet open while using it. And she hasn't told even her BFF yet, and she tells her everything. If I try to give her space, she might feel like I am abandoning her, right? Even now, she has one leg on me while sleeping. Now for the last story. I, 27 male, got injured while saving a girl from assault, and my girlfriend, 27 female, stopped talking to me. My girlfriend and I have been dating for almost 3 years. We moved in together recently and our relationship is great. She's an extremely loving and caring person. I was coming home from a gig late at night a few days ago when I heard sobbing behind a dumpster in an alley. I went to investigate, and a man was trying to force himself on a woman. He saw me and tried to take a swing at me. We got into a fight and it got pretty brutal. I managed to beat him and force him down until the cops arrived. My face got blooded badly. I broke a finger and cracked a rib. I was taken to the hospital after that and my girlfriend rushed there. She was extremely worried and started crying when she saw my face. I reassured her that I was okay, and she went home after looking after me for a few hours. She came to visit me after her job the next day, but she was very distant. She took care of me but didn't try to talk to me and only responded with one-word answers to my attempts to start a conversation. She's even avoiding looking at my face. She's been the same way even after I was discharged after 2 days and came home. She keeps avoiding conversations with me. What is wrong? She's never behaved like this before. What should I do? Did I do something wrong? Only one person knows what's wrong. That would be your girlfriend. You should save the self-doubt or anything else and simply ask her. There was a summer thread months back, where the girlfriend shut down because she was worried about her boyfriend, and seeing him so close to his own mortality scared her in ways she couldn't handle. So she disconnected. Wish I could find it. First off, you absolutely did the right thing, and I'm sorry it did not go well for you. Hope you're healing up okay. Second, it might just be hard for her to see you that way. I know when a family member of mine had a major life-saving emergency surgery, I avoided them like the plague because even looking at them made me want to cry. They took it really personally, but I was young and I didn't know how to express my stress and pain seeing them that way. Your girlfriend might be going through something similar, but it's hard to say. She may also feel like you should have stayed out of it, because it could have gone worse. I know I've had conflicting feelings over my boyfriend trying to defend women before, but mostly because I don't want him to get hurt, not because I don't think it's the right thing. There's a chance she might not believe that someone would be willing to take that sort of injury to help a woman he doesn't have some sort of relationship with. Or she could be frightened that you're capable of that level of violence at all. Or she could be upset because seeing you in the hospital scared her, but now she's afraid that you'll do something brave again and get yourself killed. There's no way to know what's happening in her head without speaking to her about it. This. Or she could be worried about herself being in the other woman's situation and wondering if a guy, like her boyfriend, would protect her as well.